So I picked up this computer on trade. I picked it up because it's kind of a cool looking computer, and we'll take a look at it. But typically the way it works is that a customer requests a computer to get built, and to kind of help offset the price, if they have a computer that's actually pretty decent or something that interests me, to be honest with you, I will give them credit towards the build. And it works out pretty good because that's how I get extra parts. And sometimes I'm able to take that computer, kind of refurbish it, give it some minor upgrades, and make some money off of that. So the story behind this one was that prior to buying the computer from me, the customer bought this on eBay for, I think he said like 150 or 160. He took it home, tried to fire it up, and then realized he could not figure out what was wrong with it, why it wasn't working. So I'm kind of taking a gamble with this because, and you'll see, as kind of proprietary in nature and as expensive as components could be for this, yeah, there is a chance that I really got nothing out of it. But I still think it's cool. I want to do a video on it, and let's see what we got. So if this kind of hasn't given you a hint, or maybe you saw it on the earlier footage, it's an Asus, and it has 2 power bricks, which, first things first, yeah, that's just retarded. But then again, as old as this computer is, I guess that's just the way things were done at this time. But it's still cool. So you have 2 power bricks, and you have this thing that's supposed to kind of hold them together. But I guess during the lifespan of this computer, 1 power brick went bad, got broken. So we got this, aftermarket one. But if it works, it works. And we got this. And we'll get better camera angles of it, but it's an Asus G20. It's supposed to have an i7 4th gen, and I don't know the specs beyond that. The specs of it, according to the guy that I got it from, it's an i7 4790K. So yeah, it's old. I believe this thing was looking at kind of some homework on it, research. It was released back in 2014, and they cost upwards of like $1,200 for that spec. 16 gigs of DDR3. They typically come with a GTX 780, but as you can see, we don't have a graphics card, and he bought it like that. And this one didn't have storage. So he paid about, I think he said 150 or 160 for it, just for that. But looking online, these things, if they do have storage and a graphics card, something decent on it, they sell upwards of $300 to $500, which is insane. But then again, it might be the whole, gimmick of alien-looking technology. So let's see. Let's open it up and see if it works. So just kind of looking at it, because I've never messed with one of these. This is a panel that you're supposed to pop off. I guess it's, are there any screws from it? No, looks like it just pops right off. And that's for this side over here. And from what I gather, I think it's supposed to slide out. So I'm gonna put you down and see if we can slide this thing out. Guys, this thing is a pain in the butt to take apart. Now, according to the internet, this piece comes out and this thing slides out, but it's not doing it. And you can see there's a screw here, but we took that out, so this should slide. Alright, so looking at the interweb, I made that a lot harder than it should be. It slides this way. Watch, easy. Dadgummit. There it goes. Alright, there's all our goodness. And it does come with a solid state drive. I think he did say that he put in a drive and tried to get it running, but he couldn't figure it out. So we don't have a graphics card, which we can see right over here. We do got a drive. So I think the first thing we need to do is just fire it up and just see if it works before we go any further. So let's start with that. Crazy, 2 power bricks. From what I gather, I think one is to power the graphics card and the other one's to power the actual computer itself. I think that's the whole idea behind it. Let's plug right over here. Now remember I told you in another video, if you got a computer that has a drive and possibly an OS, don't plug it into the internet. And I'll have a link to that video. Alright, now that we got this kind of an abomination setup, let's find the power button. Should it be that one? Yep, power button. Fan spinning up. It's good. It has light. Hey, it's already turning on. That was pretty quick. Do we have a Windows? We do. All right. Let me take a look at it first. Make sure I ain't putting nobody's personal information out there. And then I'll show you what we got. All right, so it's up and running. And yeah, it does have the i7 4th gen 4790K, 16 gigs of DDR3. I know, DDR3. But I mean, what can you expect? And it does have a 500 gig SSD, so we're good. So now I think what I want to do is go ahead, pop in the graphics card, fresh thermal paste on the CPU, and let's see how the thermals are and how this thing runs. Now got to figure out how this thing comes apart. So let's just do the right thing and just take out random screws and just hope that I don't break anything. There's another one right over here, and you can tell it's missing screws. Got one right here, so let's try that. Okay. Sweet. Now our drive is just kind of loosely hanging out over here. From what I can see, they don't have a drive cage. Now typically when you buy a computer like this from eBay, they just strip all the good stuff. So I'm sure it had a 780 and they got rid of it. I'm sure it had a drive and they got rid of it. And the unfortunate thing is that when they strip these things down, instead of like taking the drive out of the cage, they take the drive cage, which is frustrating. Because then if I really wanted to do this right, I'd have to hunt it down. But enough whining and complaining. We move forward. Okay, so more screws. Want to get to the heat sink of the CPU. I'm going to start there first. I mean, now that I'm taking everything apart. Oh, that comes out really easy. Looks like somebody's been here. I have two connectors over here. Let's zoom you in. A little bit. They look the same, so we're just gonna unplug them and just kind of, you know, hope for the best. Now I will say though, this thing is not too bad. I mean, the amount of dust in here is fair. A little light cleaning with a brush. Look good. Now it looks like we got two more screws here, one here and one here. And let's should get our heatsink out. One more screw over here. And then there's two holes right over here. Zoom you in. Here and here. And that's how you get to those. So next thing we need to do is take this, disconnect that. Come on, there we go. Take off this little itty bitty screw. Actually, no, we don't need to take that out because I do have access to that screw. So let's get this off the heat sink. 1, 2. Well, these things are not even tightened down. All right, let's see if this wants to cooperate. Maybe. So our thermal paste, dry. So it's good that we're changing it. Oh yeah, it's probably original. So I can't say this enough. You know, when you're doing these computers, change the thermal paste. I mean, it's like the easiest performance boost in the sense that it's going to run cooler than it would be with the dry thermal paste, and you'll kind of restore it back to its factory performance, I would say, in the sense that, you know, if you have that extra heat and everything, you start thermal throttling and downclocking and all that stuff. So yeah, just fresh thermal paste. It's cheap, it's easy. So let's take a look at our memory. Let's see what we got. I mean, not that it matters. Well, maybe it does. We got PC 3 12800, 2 8 gig sticks. It's matching, so you know that's a good thing. Pop that back in. I'm gonna take a brush and kind of loosen up some of the cake dust, and then blow it off with my blower. Considering, I mean, this computer is not that bad. I've had a lot worse. So I went ahead and did a bunch of work off camera, mostly thermal paste, and I'm realizing that this thing is missing a lot of screws. So whoever took it apart just forgot to or just didn't care, and that is typical. I've seen that a lot. People get these computers, strip them, get the good parts, sell them, and then just sell the shell, which I don't know, because it has the i7 4th gen, which still has a couple of bucks on it in memory. But anyways, so we're having to find screws for it. So now that this is ready, good to go, I need a graphics card, and I think the one that's going to be a perfect candidate for it, which is considering how small it is, my GeForce GTX. This is a 1660 Super. It's the HP variant, and I like how small it is, you know. Got a 4-pin, so now that I'm looking at it, folks, can you see what's wrong? Can't put the graphics card that way. This is the bracket. I'm pretty sure there's a riser that's supposed to go here, and we don't have it. Great. We'll be back. And we got a riser card. And this thing was not cheap. This was like $25. And it was the only one I could find. They had some aftermarket brands, but, you know, I'm big on original. So, yeah. So, I don't know if it comes out or you can read it, but Asus riser card, G20 AJDP. So, this is the AJ variant. There's another variant that has an i7 6th gen, which that would have been sweet. But, you know, this should work. So, now my question is, how does this go together? So, what I'm thinking is, let's pop this on the graphics card first. I could watch a video on how to do this, but that would just make sense. And then this kind of slides in like this, maybe? Yeah, like that. Snaps in. Sweet. Alright. Oh, nice. It's like it was made for that, you know? No restriction. I kind of like that. So we're going to pop this. Oh, crap. Folks, do you see anything missing? Because I just noticed something also. How am I going to power this? Looks like there's power right here. Let me zoom you in. Yeah, that's the power there. This power connector, I think that's for the CPU, and great. We got cables, and those were $10 a piece. So now we're $25 for the riser, $10 because, well, I bought both. They're kind of mismatched, but should be fine. Yeah. Now this one is the OG that comes with it, and this is a company that I saw that makes aftermarkets for it, which I decided to buy it because, well, look kind of cool. They'll be mismatched. I mean, hopefully I don't lose sleep over it, but it should work. So I think we need a single. Yeah, we gotta need a 4-pin. So this one's a 3-pin, this one's a 4-pin. I think I'm gonna plug them both in, just have them there in case for some crazy reason in the future I decide to, I don't know, upgrade the graphics card. I don't know what other one I could put in here, but that might be an option. Let's see. I mean, how do you get that in there? That's kind of, it's a little tight. Wow. And of course I put that one in first when I should have put that one in first, but that's fine. That's fine. Actually, this one's easier to put in. Okay, so I'm going to tuck these back here. At least we have both. And we'll need this one. So let's see how easy this is to go together. That's not too bad. All right. Zoom you out. All right, everything looks pretty good. And in case you're wondering, the SSD, I just used some strong Velcro for it. I'm not going to spend $20 on that drive cage. It'll be fine. Just going to pop in the fans, put everything back together, fire up, and hopefully it works. So one quick tip I want to share. So if you notice this tape, to kind of, help with the whole ducting action, it's worn out, not sticky, and this thing has just been pulled up too many times, so it's useless. This is a trick I use. It works. It's cheap. And, well, duct tape. I don't have black, but I have white. I just cut it to size, put it exactly where it goes, and this is to kind of help channel the air. There we go. Works just as good. Have plenty on hand. I've done this for laptops and other type of computers, and it works fine. And if it wears out, got plenty. So it's up and running, but as you can notice, the fans are loud. So I installed a CPU monitor. Folks, we had 100 degrees Celsius. So let's shut her down and find out what I did wrong. Well, got bad news on this one. So took it apart. I mean, my spread is pretty decent. I mean, probably a little too much, but that's fine. But that's actually not the concern. I took a look at it and don't know how well the camera picks it up, but it's a little wet there. So it looks like that this thing has been bent way too many times, which it shouldn't be bent. All you had to do was just take off a screw here, slide this out, you get to the screws. It's got the 2 axis over here. So whoever kind of tinkered with this, they did the thing that broke it, and now I have to hunt this thing down. And because this is broken, it's not transferring the heat. This thing is like overheating at 100 degrees, which means I got to figure an option out. So this is where we're going to end the video. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to track one down, at least in time. So I don't know. I've been looking on eBay and it's been kind of hard to find them. But if you guys have any leads or recommendations for a heatsink alternative or heatsink for this, definitely chime in the comment box below. So we're going to end this over here. It works. It overheats because of the heatsink. We were able to get the graphics card installed. Kind of a bummer on this, but that's sometimes how it rolls. So stay tuned for part 2. In part 2, we should be able to hopefully track down a heatsink, get this thing running, see how it runs, thermals, performance, all that good stuff. And yeah, really get to enjoy this computer. So thanks for watching. Comment down below questions, concerns, thoughts, criticisms. If you like this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what disaster I come up with next.